You just finished enjoying a plate of General Tso's chicken. Suddenly, your head hurts and you can't stop sweating. It must be the MSG. MSG has had a bad reputation for making people sick. But do you know there isn't any proof that foods containing MSG cause these side effects? So why do some people think that MSG is bad for you? And why is it so controversial? Is it because of Chinese restaurant syndrome? A fake medical report? Or racism? Leave your guesses in the comments. By the end of the video, you'll know the answers. Let's break down what MSG is and where it all started. MSG stands for Monosodium glutamate. It's very similar to table salt and is usually associated with Japanese and Chinese cuisines. But you can find it in your home, restaurants, and in pre-made foods. Oh yeah, and it also occurs naturally in tomatoes, cheese, and turkey. A Japanese chemist named Kikunai Ikeda invented synthetic MSG in 1909. He was interested in what made seaweed stock so savory and derived MSG from kombu, a type of kelp. The Food and Drug Administration and other regulatory bodies worldwide recognize MSG as generally regarded as safe. That being the case, why the controversy? The US and other Western nations bought tons of MSG during the 1930s and 40s, despite the nasty anti-Asian sentiments that followed World War II. People had grown to love what we now call Chinese food. They didn't know they were consuming MSG, only that it was delicious. In the 1960s, things changed. The FDA announced it was banning an artificial sweetener called cyclamate, and people became skeptical about odd-sounding additives in their food. In 1968, things got worse. The New England Journal of Medicine published a letter from Dr. Robert Holman Kwok claiming he got headaches and heart palpitations after eating at Chinese restaurants, even though he's allegedly from China and was working in the US. The headline of the letter read, "Chinese Restaurant Syndrome." People started to panic. They interpreted the infamous letter as scientific proof that MSG was dangerous. It got to the point where, for years, Chinese restaurants would post no MSG signs in their windows to try and encourage potential diners. People started calling local health departments to complain about feeling flushed, suffering from headaches, and other problems similar to those Kwok wrote about. By 1981, journal articles started digging into the past 40 years. Numerous researchers have studied MSG and published articles, but none of them conclusively linked MSG or foods containing MSG with adverse health reactions or any clinical condition. This is where things take a crazy twist. Fast forward to 2013, why don't we? Jennifer Lemussier watched a documentary about ramen noodles, and she became curious about the claim that MSG is dangerous. So she started digging. She found the original letter from 1968, but instead of finding arguments for or against the hypothesis, she found a lot of vulgar, racist language. Essentially, it said Chinese food was disgusting and unhealthy. Then the letter devolved into name-calling and ethnic slurs. In 2017, she published a paper discussing MSG, race, and Chinese food. A year later, she received a phone call from a man named Dr. Howard Steele. He claimed that he was Dr. Robert Holman Kwok. Remember him from earlier? He was the guy who wrote the original letter in 1968. He declared the whole thing was a hoax. Howard and a doctor friend named Bill Hansen used to joke about how they couldn't get anything published in the prestigious New England Journal of Medicine. Hansen bet $10 to Steele to prove him wrong. And get a load of this. They met every week for food and drinks at a Chinese restaurant and always felt like crap afterward, ignoring the copious amounts of beer they drank. Steele was inspired to write a letter to the journal blaming his sickness on the food. Classic. He thought he'd write a letter that was so obviously over the top that the journal would never take it seriously. But he was wrong, and he won the $10 bet. A few weeks later, he contacted the journal to admit to the hoax. The editor hung up on Steele and did not print a retraction. Shame on all of them, I say. So, if you want an easy way to enhance the flavor of your veggies or other foods, go ahead and add some MSG. Turns out it's not that bad after all, right? Want to learn more about crazy food history? How about the truth behind Parmesan cheese? Or Parmesan, as some people say, who clearly have no Italian genetics whatsoever. But technically, both are correct. Tomato, tomato. Anyway, uncover those mysteries and more on Origins of Food.